Welcome to day one of Mindfulness Towards Successful Living. This program is going to empower you with skills that you can use in your everyday life to start implementing mindfulness for success. You know, mindfulness is a hot topic and it's been a buzzword now for over a decade. I've been practicing mindfulness, guided meditation, visualization, and mental technologies of this sort for over 3 decades. And I can tell you, it is very encouraging now to see neuroscience and research hospitals and Harvard Business Review in a corporate setting and top athletes and performers of all areas of life that are embracing the power of mindfulness through a consistent and simple practice. This boot camp is going to show you a varied multiplicity of techniques that you're going to be able to implement daily to start and see improvement and benefits right away. We're going to go through all kinds of different meditation programs. We're going to show you different ways to do it. You can do it so that it's stress focused for stress relief. You can do it for health benefits. You can do it for intensified laser focus. You can do it for better executive functioning. You can do it for better choice making. It literally will affect your life in so many ways. I'm excited that you're here, and let's get on to it. So what we're going to approach in this initial boot camp is based on Vipassana. And Vipassana is a form of meditation that is basically focused on sensations in the body. So we'll direct our focus to one specific area. As an example, we might start with breath or breathing. We may do another day where we're focusing on the sensations of what we feel on our skin or the heaviness of our body in the moment, things like that. And the purpose of this is to do nothing more than to simply train our brains on how to focus better. Most people don't really understand, and we do now over the course of the last 5 decades, what the benefits of physical fitness and training our bodies for health do as an outcome. Although, if you go back 6 or 7 decades into the 30s and 40s, it was very rare that somebody participated in a daily physical regimen for health benefits. As a matter of fact, at that time, you would see doctors in television ads smoking cigarettes. So it's very possible that cultural norms or accepted ways of being in regards to what works and what doesn't is definitely questionable at best. And now we obviously know the benefits of physically training our bodies for health and longevity. And the same applies when we start to think about our brains and our minds. Recent neuroscience has shown that our brains have the ability to literally transform physiologically for better performance. And it happens all the time, mostly without our intent. Well, so those same studies have proven that mindfulness, in the most minute amount, for example, 100 minutes of training in mindfulness cumulatively, shows physical changes in the brain towards better performance. So we're going to get into that approach as we go through this boot camp. I like to call this mindfulness without all the woo-woo and weird stuff. So we're not going to really, spend a lot of time focusing on harmonizing our energies with the moon and the stars and all of those things. We're going to share and you're going to learn true applicable techniques that are going to change your life. Literally, mindfulness towards successful living. So let's just start right away. Day one, simple practice. What I'd like you to do is take a couple of seconds, so we're going to do 10 or 15 seconds here, and I want you to just close your eyes with me and don't think a thought for the next 15 seconds. Are you ready? Go. Now don't think any thoughts. Okay, how'd you do? Well, that was actually half of that time. That was just around 7 seconds. And my guess is, if you're paying attention, you probably realize that that is going to be really hard to do. So I start with that because most people think mindfulness or meditation is about clearing our brains, like clearing our thoughts so that we have a space of no thinking. And that is a false perception of what mindfulness truly is. The reason that's false is because of what you just experienced. It's impossible. Our brains are full of constantly being barraged by conversation internally. As a matter of fact, the old ancient Pali scripts, which is where the term and concept of mindfulness comes from, refers to that type of constant internal dialogue as the monkey mind. And that's just a barrage of constant thoughts rushing into our head. Well, what mindfulness does for us is it's going to allow us and teach us as we train our brains to experience the concept that we can simply be passive observers of our unintentional thoughts or these reactions and the reactiveness that we have towards emotion that just literally hits us in the moment of whatever experience it is that we're having, and then becoming that emotion as though we're taking ownership of that emotion, or we're taking ownership of this incredible replay of thoughts about the negative experience that happened to me yesterday when so and so said such and such. When we get into a place of mindfulness practice, what it does is it's going to teach us to be able to be emotionally intelligent in ways that are going to benefit everything that goes on in our worlds. It's going to give us control over that emotional reaction that we have to that external stimuli. And it's going to create the possibility for better focus, for better executive functioning, and enhanced performance in all aspects of our living. Thus the title, Mindfulness Towards Successful Living. It really becomes a way of being. So let's start at the foundation and learn a little bit about what this concept is and where it came from. Basically, mindfulness as a term comes from the language of Pali, and that's an old language. It dates back to over 500 BC. Specifically, it was denoting sacred texts of the Buddhists that were philosophical in nature. The word for the concept of mindfulness is sati, which translates awareness, attention, and remembering. Now, it doesn't mean, the specific translation of that does not mean remembering like I remember the tuna sandwich I had yesterday, or I remember the past childhood traumas that I've had, or I'm remembering what Susie said to me last week and how that frustrates me. That's not what it's about. What it's referring to is remembering to intentionally focus on awareness and on paying attention. So, literally, attention to our experience in the moment. With my kids, as I was raising them, whatever the environment was that they were in or whatever they might be doing, I'd be like, hey, pay attention. Pay attention to your surroundings. Be observant. And it's just so funny, most of that was done out of safety precaution and what have you, but part of it was just done simply because they were doing goofy things. And I'd be like, hey, pay attention to what you're doing. Most people go through life and hardly pay attention at all. Most people go through life literally just reacting. There's a thought that I share with people for consideration, and it's off topic of mindfulness here quickly, but it does bear sharing. Most people feel like they're going through life thinking and living life as it happens, when in reality, they're just doing nothing more than living their life remembering. And you might think, well, what does that mean? It's very possible that you're just constantly being reactive to all the unconscious associations and things that have happened to you from your past, or the things in the dogma that was pounded into you from your social environment or your educational environment from your past. And then whatever stimulus comes to you in the moment, you are referring to those situations that happened in the past, and then you're creating a perception of that's what this new thing is that just happened in the moment, when it's very possible that those two things don't even associate at all. But many people go through life thinking that they're thinking and being in the moment, when really all they're doing is living their life remembering reactively to what happened in that moment. Hope that makes sense. Anyway, back to it. So it's about paying attention. It's literally about becoming the observer. You want to be the observer of your experience. Thus, you want to be aware of what is happening in your experiences. So, a good terminology, or a good definition and proper terminology, would sound something like this: being aware of the present experience that you're having in that moment with acceptance, and observing from a place of non-judgment. You've heard the term, it is what it is. That's exactly what this is. You just want to observe those crazy thoughts that are coming into your mind as they come and go without judgment, because you didn't create those thoughts. They just came and they went. You want to be in a position, and we'll go into this in depth in one of the studies, when you're having something happen in your world where you're being emotionally moved and you're having heavy and strong emotion. It is possible through this type of training and habitual practice to be able to observe yourself having an emotional feeling and not being attached to it. Also, not being and creating any value or judgment towards it. Just observing that that emotion is going on, and then that emotion subsides and moves on to the next thing. And that's really what mindfulness is all about. Now, it may be important to note here that there's a social psychology phenomenon called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And basically what it is as humans, we have a tendency to perceive ourselves being far more or better at things than potentially we are in the reality. And they found that this specifically is the case when trying to share concepts of mindfulness with people as a new form of practice. Many people respond with, "Well, I'm very aware. I'm self-aware. I pay attention to my surroundings. I've always been a laser-focused type person," things like that. Well, what this phenomenon and what this Dunning-Kruger effect has established is that a person's actual competence is inversely proportional to their perceived competence. So I share this with you because as we go down and start to practice this on a regular basis, first off, do it with non-judgment. Don't want you to get stressed out if you're not able to clear your mind of thoughts, right? Because that's not the objective in the first place. You don't want you to get stressed out if, when we're doing the practice, that you're having a hard time even focusing on the sensation that we're supposed to be focusing on in that moment. And also to encourage that as you do this practice from the beginning, it can be very easy to think, "Whoa, that was awesome. Yeah, I'm doing great at this. I didn't have much thought, or I was able to laser focus, or I was this and that, and the other thing." And just know that this is a real situation. It's a phenomenon of social psychology, and it can happen to where you think that you're not thinking. And even that in and of itself is thinking. It is very rare to get glimpses of seconds of no thought, because ultimately, even when we're thinking, "Wow, I'm not having any thoughts," we're still thinking. So the process is long term. It's a practice, and they call it that on purpose because it takes practice. And conversely, that phenomena also happens in reverse, where very experienced meditators don't give themselves enough credit for the skill that they've acquired in this practice. And I think ultimately that's because they do recognize that there's just so much going on under the hood, right? So just know that as we embark on this mindfulness training, approach this literally with the thought of it is what it is. I want to be open. I want to intentionally practice training my mind, my emotions, and training my mental abilities for better focus. That's just really what this is all about. And as you do so, then you'll start to see results in your daily living. Our unconscious mind is a powerful operator, and frankly, this monkey mind activity that the Pali scripts refer to is just so crazy. You probably have experienced this. Maybe you're driving home from work and your thoughts just take off and they're coming and they're moving from one topic to the next and they're going crazy and you're just driving and you're having all these incredible internal conversations with yourself, and then all of a sudden you end up home and you pull in the driveway and you're thinking, shit, I don't even remember driving home. Well, that just gives you an example of how powerful this type of activity is that goes on unnoticed, unaware in our everyday daily experience. You may be doing it right now. You might be thinking, well, what am I going to have for dinner today? Or does this guy even know what he's talking about? Or I hope I get some kind of benefit out of this. Or, geez, I'm kind of nervous. I don't know if I can do this because I really can't stop these crazy thoughts. So, whatever it is, just be okay knowing that what we're doing here is a very specific, intentional practice towards increasing our focus ability, disciplining our imagination, and becoming okay to be in the moment, observing whatever experience it is that we're having in that moment. So that's the foundational elements for day one of this course on mindfulness towards successful living. And let's just do a 1 minute practice as we finish today's lesson. And what I'd like you to do is get comfortable. Find a seat, preferably. You don't want to lay down necessarily, and we'll talk in other lessons about why that is, but take a seat. Sit upright. Get your spine straight. Just relax the shoulders, relax the muscles in your back, and try to be as comfortable as you can. We're going to do 1 minute today, 1 minute of intentional mindfulness. So as we're sitting, please close your eyes. Take a couple of deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Take another deep breath like that, and as you do, just understand that as we do this first minute of mindfulness, we don't have any outcome goal. We don't have a big objective that you're going to have to hit. It's not a fail or win situation. What you're going to do is really just observe your thoughts, and you're going to observe yourself in this space. And I'm going to guide you through the process. And each day I'm going to guide you through some meditation processes so that it helps you train and laser focus on the things that we need to start training our brains for. So on our first minute here, you're sitting comfortably, you're breathing, and we're just going to do a couple of things. All right? All right, here we go. Deep breath in and a deep breath out. And as you do so, as your eyes are closed, just try to sit and be still in the moment. You're going to have thoughts that are going to pop into your head. And when they do, it's okay. Just observe what that thought was and then let it go without judgment and really without putting any more thinking to that thought. And you may have a brief moment where you feel you don't have another thought, and then another thought could come in. And when it does, same thing. Observe the thought, recognize it, and let it go. No judgment. Don't let it mean anything. It was just a thought. Now I'd like you to focus on your breath, very simply. However you're experiencing breathing right now in your body, focus there. Maybe you're feeling the breath as it enters the nostrils. Maybe you're breathing in through your mouth and it's moving in past your lips. You're feeling your chest rise and fall with each breath. Maybe your abdomen is swelling and then exhaling. Just for one moment, focus as deeply as you can on your breath and the process of breathing. You don't have to intentionally breathe in any certain way. Your autonomic nervous system is going to bring the breath, right? You don't think, okay, breathe now. So you don't really need to do that. But do observe the process of your body breathing. Observe how that feels. Does it bring relaxation? Does it bring you energy? Whatever it is, it's okay. Feel that breath and focus there. Okay, and as we get ready to wrap it up here for this first initial little session, begin again with just observing your experience in this moment. Let's do that by focusing on this next breath from start to finish. And see if you can stay with an intense focus of that breath from start to finish with intention. That's excellent. Great. Well, good job. Thank you. I want to encourage you, before you get into day 2 of this boot camp, you may want to take a listen to our progressive relaxation exercise. And that's an exercise that you could do before you get ready to do day 2, or you can do it at any time. What that does is that's going to create in your body a stress release and a very powerful exercise where your body calms and relaxes your body and your mind, and it's a really cool exercise. So I encourage you to listen to that one, and as you do so, I encourage you to practice that as much as what you can. And I look forward to doing this with you, and I look forward to hearing your responses and seeing how well you're responding to this intentional practice as we train our brains, as we learn to focus, and as we learn to discipline our imagination. I will see you here on day 2. Have a great day.